Afternoon, everyone. Please, can you just confirm if you can hear me? You can confirm it via the chat if everybody can hear me. Thank you. Thank you. I'll introduce myself. My name is Aneli, and I'll be taking you through the training for the conversion from Pastel Partner into Palladium. And then let me know if you are all ready, and then we will start with the training. And apologies for joining in a bit late. We had a little bit of an issue with load shedding. Okay, I believe now we can kickstart our training for today. As I've said, my name is Aneli. First thing first, where we're gonna start off with, when it comes to Pastel Partner conversion into Palladium, you will need to make sure that from your Pastel package, you first acquire all the backups that are needed in order for you to convert over into Palladium. So I believe all of you, since you are using Pastel Partner, you still remember how to make your backups within Palladium, within Pastel Partner, and you will be required to make a backup of your database. As you're looking at my screen with Pastel Partner, I'm not going to talk much about it, but I'm just going to do a backup. At the state, it's giving me an error message. So when it comes to converting from Palladium into Pastel Partner, you will start by making a backup of your database. At this stage, I'm just having a little bit of issues with my Pastel. So I'll just start over by jumping across to taking one of the backups that I have made earlier on, because troubleshooting might delay us a little bit since we have also started a little bit late with the training. Once you have your backup from Pastel, what you also need to make sure is make sure that all the data integrities are ran and everything is in order. You don't have any errors when it comes to your data integrity tests on your Pastel company. And then also note down the financial year end dates of that specific database that you're about to convert from Pastel Partner into Palladium. And once you have all the financial year dates written down and you have your backup, make sure that you also install Pervasive Control Center. Pervasive Control Center can be found if you do not have it already installed. You can go into the Pastel website page, and then you can get to download Pervasive. I would say rather download the one that is for workgroup version 10. It is the Pervasive that you can download. This one that I am putting the cursor on top of. You can first start by downloading that Pervasive, and then you run the installation of Pervasive on the machine that you're going to be performing the conversion.
Sorry, Aneli.
Yes.
Apologies for stopping the.
No.
Do you have another screen?
Sorry?
Are you working from another screen?
No, I'm only working on one screen. You don't see my other screen right now. Let me just stop sharing and reshare. Sorry about that. Can you see the screen that the one that says Sage on top?
Yeah, I can see it now. Perfect.
Okay. I will share this link with all of you on the chat where you can get the Pervasive installation files. I'll share the link for all of you. I've just shared the link right now on the chat where you can get the Pervasive installation files. And then once you have the Pervasive installed on the machine, I don't know Can I ask, do you all know how to do the installation of Pervasive, or do you want me to run you through doing the installation of PCC, the Pervasive Control Center? Just let me know if there's anybody who is not sure on how to do the installation of Pervasive. I will gladly do so right now. Just let me know if you want me to do that and show you how to do the installation of Pervasive in order for you to get the PCC, which you will use to then convert your database from the Pervasive into Microsoft SQL. I believe everybody else know how to do that. All right, moving right along then. After you have installed your Pervasive, you will then go into your start key. I'll just first start by closing off my PCC that I had on. And then we'll start off by first opening up PCC, which is the Pervasive Control Center. I already have it installed on my machine. So you open up the control center, the Pervasive Control Center. Let me know if you can see the screen, but I'll just make sure that you are all able to see my screen. Okay. So once the Pervasive Control Center is open, what you will do next, you will then go to Tools. On top there, right next to Edit, there's a tab that says Tools. So that is the option you will select. And then you will then select the Odbc Administrator. And then after selecting the Odbc Administrator, it will then open up the screen that says Odbc Data Source Administrator. Then you will select the option that says System DSN in there. And you will then go in and select Add. Once you click Add, I will be using this option that says Pervasive Odbc Engine Interface, which will also be the option that you will use if you are converting the database. And then right after selecting the Pervasive Odbc Engine Interface, I'll then select Finish. And then coming into the screen, it will open up the screen. On this screen right here, that is where I will be required to go and select the database that I require, or the database that you want to convert from Pastel Partner into Palladium. So in this case, I'm going to be selecting Create in order for me to go and search for the location where my data or my backup has been stored. So my backup, I'm just going to go to Browse and look for the backup that I'm going to be using. Just need to quickly first delete the one that I had. Let me just use a different one rather. Okay, so I have selected the database that I want to convert, and then after selecting it, I then test the connection from the Pervasive PCC, the Pervasive Control Center, and then the connection was successful. I will then go OK and OK and select OK. And then from here on, I will now go within Palladium so I can create a shell company that I'm going to use to convert the database from Pastel Partner across into Palladium. I'm just going to name my database training. Already have one that is named training.
Hi, Annalini. If you're talking, we're not able to hear you.
Are you still not able to hear me? What about now?
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that. Let me just close this. I'll just start it over. I'm not sure if do anybody want me to go through again the steps of creating a new company, or can I proceed? Because I believe my sound was not clear there. Can I proceed, or should I create a new company again? Right, I guess I will proceed. Okay, so I have created a shell company. It doesn't have any other thing. I'll just start over and just create a whole new company so that I can explain the steps since I was not audible. I'll just start by creating a whole new shell company. I'll just name it A because I already have a lot of databases with my name on it, so it might give me a duplication. Just waiting for the system to respond so I can put in the details. Okay, I'm just gonna put in the full name. So when you're creating on the first screen, you do not have to put in the full name because sometimes it gives you errors if you put a lot of characters on. So also another thing that is important is to put in the country, because this, if you do not put it the first time, you won't be able to change it. As for the rest of the other information, you can always come into this screen and change your settings. And then another thing that we must take note of is your financial start date and your end date. So as per on your pastel company, based on the date that you would have there, these are the financial start dates that you also put in the side as well, because if they're not the same during the conversion, it might give you an error message. And you might also experience issues at a later stage if this is not taken into consideration. So I'm just going to select OK so that my shell company can be created. And then as for this one here, it's referring to the home currency. So every single time you create a whole new company, you will be required to select a local currency that your database is going to be using. So I've selected my rand in there, and then moving over to this screen right here, the general ledger account setup. I would advise in the screen that you use the manual setup. Reason being, the manual setup allows you to still use your pastel accounts as they are. So your general ledger accounts in pastel, you can still use them as they are. And you can still be able to add more if you want to add more of the accounts. So you will select that option that said manual on the first screen. And then here you will tick the user defined financial categories, as well as the pastel partner default financial categories. And then I'm just gonna quickly create the sub account segment. I will leave it on alphanumeric to allow the flow of things to be more easier. Okay, so I now have a database. This is my shell company. I also did a backup on the PCC where I've stored the backup on PCC. So the next step to do will be to go into the control panel. And then we will use this option that says data importer utility. So depending which database you are you're going to be converting, whether it's from Evolution or Partner, you will then specify there on top whether you're selecting Pastel Partner or Evolution. And then after that, you will select the database that you are going to convert from Partner into Palladium. And then the connection type make sure it is always on ODBC. As you remember on our first step, we selected the ODBC when we were adding in the database on PCC. And then you can then test your connection. So if you test your connection, it will give you this screen and it will state that if there's anything prior, it needs to be upgraded on a later version relating to Pastel in there. Would you like to continue? And you will then select yes. So it will tick everything that your database have. And I know maybe somebody might have a question that it is showing zeros in there. It's because we haven't transferred the database as yet. You will then select transfer. Then it will start transferring the database across. And then what it will not show, or whatever it will still show in red, it means that specific one didn't have anything within your Pastel partner. So it will not convert anything because this one didn't have anything on it. So after you have done this, because the data transfer was successful, I will then select OK, and then move over to the data extractor utility. So to make sure that everything that you had within Pastel moves over within Palladium, we are going to tick every single step in here, and then we will be going next. And then here is just a confirmation. As you remember, this is what I transferred from my demo database across into Palladium, and also my supplier categories, I didn't have anything. So it will still, this is just a summary of what it is taking across. So you just also need to double make sure before you can move across from here as well. So it will ask you if you want to continue on the screen, which we will be selecting yes. On the database that I'm currently using, it had a 13 period. And another thing, the reason I'm using the demo is just to show you, because I didn't have one of the databases that I had the 12th period. So it's just to show you that in Palladium, we don't have a 13th period. We only have a 12th period. So if you have a 13th period, it means you will also need to know or bear in mind that whatever you have on your 13th period, it is not going to get converted as a 13th period within Palladium, because Palladium doesn't have a 13th period. And then this as well, like I've explained to you earlier on, when we were studying over on the Pervasive Control Center, that you need to always make sure that you note down your financial year periods. So if your financial year starts 1st of March 2022 and you create a shell company in Palladium, and the shell company in Palladium starts from 1st of March or 1st of February 2023, then this is what I was referring to, that it is going to give you an error message when you have to proceed and move over to the next step. And then you will also have another issue when it comes to you checking for your transactions in future. Some of the transactions will be missing on the periods or the dates that you're going to be looking for them. So right now I left it like this so that I can show you the implications that are there if some of the things are not plugged in correctly. So right now I'm just going to close this off, and then I'm going to create my shell company, a new shell company that I'm going to use the correct year end, and then we will proceed doing the conversion. This was just a brief to show you the error messages that it's going to give you if you do not select the correct financial year end dates. Thank you. So I'll just mute for 2 seconds, and then I'll be busy creating a whole new shell company with the correct financial dates. Thank you so much. I have created my shell company and I will now do the data transfer. I will first start by doing my connection there. As I've explained earlier on, I'm going to tick everything so that we don't have anything missing. That is coming from the pastel partner. The database that I'm using, it had a future date transaction that was processed in it. And then coming over here, once we get past that stage, we will then need to do our mapping, where we're going to be mapping all the general ledger accounts as per the account sets within Palladium. So we will start here. So what you will need to do, you'll need to set up everything or map everything from the screen in order for us to go forward, or else the next option is not going to be available for us to proceed. So I'm just going to quickly do the mappings and then we're going to move over to the next screen. Thank you so much, and apologies for taking longer. Okay, so when it comes to allocating some of these accounts, if there's one that the account class is not pulling through, then you will have to change it. It does allow you to click on, and then you change the number as per the one on top there. So anything that is an asset will be from these numbers to that, so you will still be able to change it in there. So right now I'm just going to be allocating the account class, the Palladium accounting class. Now that all the Palladium accounts and the Palladium account set have been allocated, I will then select next. And on the next screen here, you get to set up your VAT. And also another thing that I can advise is that this, you can also create new text types or new text codes within Palladium, even after you have set it up in here. And you can still be able to do it in Palladium as well. And another thing with my database, it will be showing 14% because the data that I'm using, it is when we were still on the 14% VAT tax code. But this can also be changed. I will change it in here. If I want to make it 15%, I can still change it in here so that when it converts within Palladium, it takes it in as 15%.
Finally, you need to select your purchase tax code as well.
Yes, I've noticed that now. Sorry about that, Morne. I just want to fix it now. Thanks.
You're on mute.
I'm still with you. So if here you have any projects and you want to create a new center or you don't have any center available, you can always create it on the screen here. And here is just to double check if all the customers that you have are all in there. And it's just to check the customers. You can only edit the payment terms on those customers on the screen here. There's nothing much that you can change. And this is the suppliers. Also here you can just check. You can also only change the the payment terms for the suppliers. Nothing much you can change on it. And these are inventory items. If you have any items on your database, but if you do not use inventory, then you wouldn't have to have them. Also the services as well. But you also need to set up the account sets when it comes to your inventory items and your service items. And then now I'm about to import all the databases or all the data that is coming from Pastel into Palladium now that I'm done mapping and setting up all the account sets. Then it is also showing me a summary here that it has imported. When I started, you did notice that the currency, the multi-currencies that I had on my database, it was 3. There is the 3 that I had. I had 89 general ledger accounts. There is the 89 general ledger accounts. So here also will be a matter of making sure that all the other information you selected on the first screen where it showed what it was going to pull through into Palladium, it has pulled it through. And after that, you will then select next, and it will also state in here that you do have the linked accounts within Palladium, and these are the accounts that have been linked. You can always still continue to create more linked accounts within the system. And then after that, we can select finish. And this is just the utility asking me if it would like to save the data. The data that it is referring to, it's all the information that we've been mapping. And from the moment we started with the data transfer. So if you select no, it is not going to take the rest of the other information. So we're going to be selecting yes. And we now have our data integrity check. If it was out of balance, it will show you what is out of balance. If there was an account, if maybe the database you took from Pastel Partner had some data integrity errors and it was never fixed, when you import into Palladium, those errors are going to pull through in here because the data will not have been fixed. So it is always advisable that before you move over from Pastel Partner, you run a data integrity test. If need be that you send through to their data fix department to fix your data, send it through to them to fix it so that you do not have any issues in here. But if you haven't and you have imported, then it means we will have to do an investigation to check what is making your data integrity to be out in order for us to be able to fix it. So meaning we will require all the other documents to go back as far back as a financial year period, depending on the transaction that is out in here. And then after the data integrity test, if it is all fine, then you can then select close. And now you will have your data into Palladium, and you will also have your customers. If you go, you will remember when I said you can double check and check if your customers are there. These are all the customers that it has imported into Palladium. So if there's any questions, you can ask.
Just a question on my side.
Yes, Mornay.
Evolution.
Yes.
Do you guys remember I have a training video where you guys show how to import evolution databases?
Yes, so there will be an email to go out, I think tomorrow, if not late today, for the evolution import as well. So there will be a training for evolution, because evolution, it uses SQL. So unlike the one for Pastel Partner where we were using the Pervasive Control Center, the one for evolution, it will be via SQL.
Perfect, thank you.
Pleasure. If there's no other questions, I believe that is where we can end our training session for today. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you, Anneli.
Thank you. Bye, Murni.